today I come to you guys with a quite big wrap up. So since I've been a little bit absent from filming the last couple of months and I didn't really end up reading much, I did a combined wrap up for the last 3 months in the last wrap up, and now we're going to do May, June and July, because I read like 3 books in May, 1 book in June, and then in July I read 9.5 books. So it's going in the right direction. But yeah, let's talk about the May books first. So the first book I finished was Good Wives by Louisa May Alcott. This is the second book in the Little Women series, or sometimes they combine it into the one book called just, you know, Little Women. And this is the Virago Modern Classics, and it's so beautiful. But this one basically takes off where the first one left off. So in the first book we meet these sisters called Meg, Jo, Beth and Amy, and it's basically them, you know, trying to live their lives while their dad is out in the war, and you know, them taking care of each other and playing these different games, and you know, them becoming friends with Laurie next door, and you know, shit goes down. This was a really good sequel, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars, and it was a really quick read as well. And now we have The Light in Hidden Places by Sharon Cameron. This is a historical fiction book. It's based off of real events though, and I basically picked this one up during a day and I read it in one day because it was that good and captivating. So in this one we meet Stefania, and it's 1943, so it's like in the middle of the war, and she is Catholic and she falls for this guy from the Diamonds family who actually happens to be Jewish, and this is basically around the time when they start, you know, collecting all of the Jews into the ghetto. And Stefania and her younger sister Helen, I want to say, Helena, they actually end up hiding refugees, you know, in the attic while having Nazis living on their floor because they sort of took over the house. And such a heart-wrenching story, a really quick read, very addicted, and just so hard to put away. I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. And the last book I read in May was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this is written in verse, so it's really quick read. And this one we meet Xiomara, and she comes from the Harlem neighborhood, and her fits and fairness mostly do the talking. But what people don't know is that Xiomara actually has secrets. She writes in this sort of notebook, she writes her slam poetry, and her teacher convinces her to join the slam poetry club in school, and she starts, you know, performing her poetry for other people and being able to, you know, express her feelings about first love and finding your own voice and stuff like that. Admittedly, verse really isn't my preferred way of reading stuff because I feel like I'm missing parts of the story that way. But it was a quick read, and it was interesting reading about the slam poetry part, but I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. We have the one and only book I read in June, which took me like a month to actually read, and that is Loki, Where Mischief Lies by Mackenzie Lee. And this is about Loki sort of being cast down to earth, honestly, to help the humans and you know, figure out what is making the humans basically be living dead people. Basically him teaming up with the people, with the humans, to figure out what's going on, and maybe he runs across someone he knows down on Earth. And honestly, it was a good solid read, but I was a little bit disappointed because I've been eyeing this book on my TBR shelf for so long, and I finally just decided to pick it up, and didn't really live up to my expectations. It felt like there was dried out a little bit. It could have been shortened, even though it's not that long to begin with. And yeah, I ended up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And then we come to the books that I have read in July, which are 9 books, which I'm really happy about because I haven't read this many books in a long time. First of all, I ended up rereading Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This was like my 3rd time reading the novel, not counting the one time I read it as a comic book. So in this one we basically meet Jane Eyre, and she goes to this Lowood school, sort of a boarding school growing up, because her aunt doesn't really want to take care of her after her uncle died. And from there she ends up being a governess at the Rochester mansion basically, and she meets Mr. Rochester, and everything else after that is just mystery and eventful. And I love this series, this book so much. It's one of my favorite classics, one of my favorite books in fact, and I decided to tab it this time around. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars again. And then I actually also decided to pick up some Jane Austen. So I read Emma by Jane Austen in this beautiful vintage classic edition. And this is about Emma, and she likes to play matchmaker. She wants to set up people to each other, make sure they get married and stuff like that. Maybe she wrongfully take credit for some of the couples because she didn't really do anything. But this is basically about trying to find her friend Harriet a husband, and she feels like she deserves a lot better than the offers she does get. And you know, maybe some misunderstandings and some mysteries along the way. I really ended up enjoying this, and I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. And of course we also have another one, and this is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. It's beautiful, really short though, and this is basically about Catherine, and she's a very like active imagination, and she ends going to Bath, meeting some new friends, maybe starting to like a guy, and shit happens. And this was such a quick read and so much fun to read. Definitely hard to predict at times. I'm falling in love with Jane Austen's writing, just as a lot of people have before me, and just really enjoyed this one, so I give it 4 out of 5 stars. And then we have the one and only book I didn't really like during this month, and that was Fruit Baskets Collector's Edition Volume 1 by Notsuki Takaya. And in this one we meet Toru, and she ends up living in this sort of tent on the property of the Somas, and because her grandpa's house is being, you know, fixed on construction. And she finds out that the Somas has some kind of secret with, you know, zodiac signs, and they can transform into animals, and they only do that when someone of the opposite sex hugs them. I like the I like the illustrations and stuff and some of the friendships, but mostly I feel like this is a collector's edition. There's supposed to be several volumes in here, and I just feel like nothing special really happened. It didn't really grab my attention, and I feel like I was forcing myself to continue reading this book, even though it's a manga. It should be a quick read. So I ended up giving this book 2 out of 5 stars. And we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is the second book I read by her. I also read The Night Circus by her, like 5 years ago or something like that. I did enjoy the writing style then, but I didn't really love the story as much. But in this one we meet a boy who goes to his school library, ends up finding this book. So that somehow depicts parts of his life, and it's written down in the book exactly as it happened, and he's just basically trying to figure out what it means, how can his life be written down in a book that he did not write himself, and also he's trying to find out what the bee, the key, and the sword means. So I really love the writing style. It's very lyrical and flourish. Definitely need to be full focus to be able to take in this beautiful writing. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Strange to Dream by Laini Taylor, sort of very magical, flourished, beautiful writing. But yeah, you definitely have to be awake. You can't be tired while reading this book. So yeah, I flew through this book, except maybe the last like 50 pages or so, because then I was too tired to get in. But yeah, really liked it. Very different kind of, you know, story. You definitely have to it's a little bit hard to like connect all the stories and realize how all the people know each other and how the stories combined and everything like that. But it was really good, and I liked how it all wrapped up, and then we ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I actually have a reread, and that is Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I ended up listening to this one on audiobook this time around, and I absolutely loved it, just like I did the first time. So this one we meet Spencer, and she wants to be basically a space pilot. So she wants to get into this academy to be able to learn how to fly and everything like that. And one of her main goals in life is basically to prove to people that her father was not a coward, because he also happened to be one of the pilots to the space academy. And you know, shit went down. So basically this is about her trying to get into academy and what happens afterwards, and how they're trying to protect the human race from the Krell, which are this sort of alien species. So I really love this series so much. Can't wait for the third book to come out later this year, which is also why I am listening to this book and currently listening to the second book actually, to, you know, be prepared. We also have The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. This is the second book in Girl Meets Duke series, I think. And in this one we meet Alexandra Mountbatten, and she sort of works at this clockworker. She goes around to wealthy families offering her services, meaning she, you know, make sure their clocks are on the right time and everything like that. And she ends up going to Chase Reynolds' house, and you know, she wants to offer him his services, but he actually ends up thinking that she's there for the position as a governess, since he can't seem to be able to find one sticking along long enough to actually be able to take care of his wards and educate them and stuff like that. So they end up actually deciding that she will be the governess, even though she has not the background for it or the or really like the knowledge of doing so. And she ends up taking care of his wards, Rosamund and Daisy, or both very like dark and like hilarious characters. Like they have the most dark games and everything. Like their dolls are constantly dying and being sick and getting hurt, and there's wakes all day every day, and they're hilarious. And of course Alexandra and Chase can't but fall in love, and you know, shit happens. So I did really enjoy this one. I think I liked the first book a little bit more, I'm not sure, but I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then the 9th and last book I ended up finishing was Romancing Mr. Bridgerton by Julia Quinn. This is the 4th book in the Bridgerton series. I have read the previous 3 books, really love them. And this one, I was really looking forward to it because it was supposed to be about Colin's story and how he falls for Penelope Featherington, which we're all waiting for to happen in the TV show. So I was really hyped about this one, but I don't know, the story went forward kind of quickly, and they just magically, oh, we're in love with each other, even though Colin didn't really think about her at all up until that point. So I felt a little bit rushed compared to the other stories I read about her in the series. So yeah, I mean, a little bit rushed, but still very good story. So I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars, but like I said, a little bit disappointed from all my high expectations of it. And I also ended up reading, I think I said 9.5 books this month. So I ended up getting halfway through Malice by John Gwynne, which is kicking my ass because it's so horrid and dark and amazing, and I'm loving it so much. So hopefully I will be able to finish this one in the beginning of August, but I'm loving this book so much. So yeah, really good one. But yeah, those were all of the books I ended up reading from May till July. Please let me know down below what your favorite book of July was, or any of the other 2 months, of course. And yeah, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please don't forget to give me some thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel by clicking the button down below. And yeah, I hope to see each other in the next one. Bye!